one of the first things you need to do is make sure that your rifle is level so that once you put the scope mount on, you can make sure that your scope is level within the scope mount. So I have a nifty little app that I use on my cell phone for leveling my rifle. One of the first things I need to do is bring the back of it up, and maybe some more yet. All right, I've got 0 on the X, 0 on the Y, and I am happy with that. For the scope mount, I'm going to be using this Primary Arms mount. It's got 20 MOA base on it, which really helps when you're doing long-range shooting, like out to a mile or even farther, because that's 20 MOA of adjustment in your scope that doesn't have to be used just to get it zeroed in at 100 or whatever your 0 point may be. All right, so in the directions, it says the base mount half-inch nuts need to be tightened to 65 inch-pounds, and then the screws for the caps will be between 15 and 25 inch-pounds. So first things first, I will loosen the base mounts, and for right now I will just very lightly finger tighten to this point, because I need to take off the top caps. The scope I'm going to be mounting on this rifle is the Vortex Viper PST Gen 2. Now, one thing that I need to do is make sure that the eye relief is set correct, and I also need to make sure that the shoulder stock and the cheek riser are all set at the proper height and distance so that I can comfortably shoulder this rifle. When you're mounting the scope on a rifle, you should have it in a position so that when you put your head on the rifle, when you bring the stock to your cheek, you should be able to do it with your eyes closed in whichever shooting position you'll be using this rifle in. Open your eyes and it should automatically have picture acquisition looking through the scope. You're going to want it set where you don't have to adjust your face to the scope. You should adjust your scope to your face. And once you have it set there, you shouldn't have to move it anymore after that point. I'm going to just put these caps on here and very lightly screw them down. I'm not looking for any type of torque output or anything like that yet, because I can guarantee you that I'm probably going to have to move something. All right. So I can still move the scope in the mount, but it holds it in place. I'm going to go ahead and get the rifle set up real quick in my preferred shooting position, and I'm going to test and see where that relief point is, and if I need to make any adjustments to the stock or to the position of the scope itself. I may need to bring the scope mount back. I may need to bring it forward. I may need to bring up or lower the cheek riser, or I may need to extend the shoulder stock out. So, like I said, we will see how that all looks with it on my face. All right, so I can tell you already that my cheek riser needs to come up, because right now my center of focus is right at the bottom of the lens. I see nothing through the lens whatsoever. So I'm gonna say I need to bring that up a good ½ inch to start. All right, so looking in the instruction manual, it says I will need a 3/32 Allen wrench, and I will have to, for right now, I'm just going to adjust the cheek comb height. All right, so I've got 2 screws right here. I will go ahead and loosen those. And then I will be able to move that up. So I'm just going to try right there. No need to tighten both of them yet. So once again, make sure shouldered nice. All right. All right, I'm still a little bit low on the cheek. So I will loosen that screw again. And I will bring that up a little bit more. And try it again. All right, so my eyes are closed. Resting my head on the cheek riser, looking through, and I've got a good picture. It's clear. I see the full picture in the scope. I don't have to move my face. So I am good with the cheek comb height. So I am going to lock that into place. All right, double check it. Perfect. Perfect. All right. I set my head on there a few times, opened my eye, and I was right in the proper field of view. So now the next part is making sure that the scope is properly set, level. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to have to do is I'm going to remove this top cap. And to do that, there's an Allen wrench that is supplied by Vortex. There's also a battery, because this scope is an illuminated scope. I'll take care of that in a second. So to remove this cap, there are 3 set screws. And it lifts straight up. The reason I'm doing that is I've got a nice flush flat surface right there, and I am going to make sure that the scope itself is level. Now I can tell you right at first glance it is not, and I knew that when I was looking through the eyepiece through the reticle. I could tell that it was off kilter. So I am going to turn this until I get 0, and I am dead nuts at 0 right now. So I am going to once again look through the rifle just to make sure. Now I know that there are scope leveling kits out there for doing just this, but I don't see the point in spending the money when I can just download a free app that can literally do the same thing, just in a slightly different fashion. Instead of something mounting onto the scope, this just sets right on top. I've got everything set where I want it. The scope is set front and back. I've got it centered between the rings, and as far as the base goes, I have it set where I want it. I've got the riser set where I want it. I did not have to adjust the shoulder at all. So before I do anything else, I will put this cap back on. All right, you don't have to go really tight with those 3 set screws at all. Just enough where you can feel a little bit of pressure and nothing more, because you're not going to be cranking on this thing so hard that you would spin it on the turret. Next thing that we do need to do is tighten our caps. To do that, I am not going to use a handheld Allen wrench. I will be using a torque driver. All right, I've got my fat wrench, and got the proper bit right here. Now, for the directions for the mount itself, it says the top screws are recommended between 15 and 25 inch-pounds. And then the other thing that you need to take into consideration is the parameters for the scope itself. The Viper scope says do not exceed 18 inch-pounds of torque on the ring screws. So I will set it at 18. All right, I've got it set at 18. So I like to do a cross pattern. All right, first things first, I like to make sure that I've got some kind of evenness with the gaps. I'm talking about the gap between the top and the base mount. Okay, I want to make sure that they are relatively the same. All right, first one is tight. Now I'll do a cross pattern. All right. Okay. Same thing with the other ring. Make sure that I've got gap equality. Back that off a little bit. Tighten this one down. Cross pattern. And after I tighten them once, I like to go back through. All right, so I've got a torque driver set up with a 1/2 inch bit. One thing that I'm going to want to do is make sure that these are loose and make sure that my scope is all the way forward, or the mount, I should say, is all the way forward. As you can see, there is, I'd say, close to an 1/8 inch of play. I will just snug the first one and bring the second one up. Now, tighten that until the torque setting snaps. And that's that. I'll go through, double them up. At 65 inch-pounds. These are at 18. Everything is in with spec between the mount itself and the scope while it's attached to the rifle. That way you're not damaging the scope with the mount, and the mount is set properly so that the recoil of the rifle doesn't make it shift while it's being fired. The next step would be sighting the rifle in and zeroing the scope, but I have no factory ammunition and I will have to develop ammo, and that's going to be on our next videos. Alright guys, so in this video we covered how to clean the rifle before you start shooting it once you bring it out of the box, and how to set up the bipod, and how to mount a scope. The next set of videos is going to be doing load development for this rifle. I do not have any factory loaded ammo, so I am starting with nothing. Everything is all brand new materials. I will be going over what I do with brand spanking new brass. There's more machining involved than shooting refired brass. Since we have the scope mounted, we can go ahead and do the finishing touches on it. The first thing is I'm going to put the extender tube on the front because it keeps the glare off of the glass of the scope. Just got to go hand snug, nothing super tight. You don't want to wreck the threads. Then the next thing I'm going to do is put on the front lens cover, and that will just slip on. It's pretty grippy, so just take your time, make sure it's lined up right. Perfect. All right. Next, we're going to put on the eyepiece cover. With this, same thing. It's going to be a little tight. Now this one is from Butter Creek. It's not made by Vortex. So it's actually quite a bit more snug. All right. I don't like that, so I am going to end up putting on a different eyepiece. All right, now for the eyepiece, I've got a Vortex one as well. All right, perfect. Now they both flip up all the way open. They're spring loaded. And that's pretty much it. The rifle is ready to be used. Now that the finishing touches are complete, the next step is going to start loading ammunition. So thanks for taking the time to watch, and until the next video, be safe and shoot straight. If you liked my video, please remember to hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification button. That way, when my next videos come out, you'll get a notification and you can check them out.